Hi everyone, welcome back to the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for tuning in for the 4 o'clock News and Politics show. 3 o'clock was Laura Afonso with barbecue and big sandwiches. We kicked off the 4 show with Adania Abreu opening a new makeup business, and then Patricia Morgan. Bob, she had an announcement today that if elected, she would establish an office of Inspector General to root out waste and abuse.
Yeah, many governments have inspectors.
And appoint Arlene Violet.
Yeah. Really? Oh, my pal, Attila the Nun. Right, whom I like. Yeah. She'd actually be very good at it, I think. She'd certainly be entertaining.
Does Rhode Island need an Inspector General?
Well, it wouldn't hurt. I mean, it's supposedly, this mixed government system. The legislature is supposed to have committees that are supposed to chase that stuff. I believe most states have an inspector general or something like it, kind of like something like the General Accounting Office, or what do they call it? The Government Accountability Office. We used to call it just the General Accounting Office. It wouldn't hurt. It's not a bad idea, Would someone like a sip of this very cold coffee, by the way?
It's so hot downtown today.
It's just awful. It reminds me of the 10 years I spent in Kinshasa, in charge of public works.
Well, hopefully it'll cool off this weekend. Want to stay on the vein of politics. Obviously, I have to talk about the passing of John McCain.
Yeah, I think John McCain, I think he's been getting a little bit more credit than he deserves. He was feisty, he was entertaining, he was certainly physically brave. He was not always politically brave. I mean, he put at the urging of some of the more extreme right-wingers in the Republican Party, he put Sarah Palin on the ticket, which was grossly irresponsible. Given McCain's age then, 72, I looked up the actuarial, projection of how long. There's about a 30% chance he'd die in office then, in a first term, and then that ignoramus would be president, and that wouldn't have been very good. So he was very irresponsible about that, which he said later. He basically admitted later it was a bad idea. He couldn't have won that year anyway because we were going into the crash. So he was probably doomed.
And you
anyway.
Remember the Keating Five, of course.
I sure do, yeah. And campaign finance reform, which he led. I think he was pretty brave on that, fighting against people in his own party. He voted against getting rid of the Affordable Care Act, but that's more because he opposed the process which they were railroading it through. And I think that was a vote of principle, but he did, he also voted for these gigantic tax cuts, which I think will, as you and I have said so many times on air, which I think will keep everybody, well medicated for maybe another year or so, and then the crash. So, which I hope I'm wrong. By that, I really do. I hope I'm wrong. I wish the market would go up to 150,000. Be great.
So, we know that can't just keep
Won't
going
happen.
Up and up and up.
Nope.
So. We've had discussions here about this week, as passing over the weekend. We're here on Wednesday.
Yeah.
A lot of continuous coverage. There's some speculation that the press is sort of latching onto this because of his relationship with Trump and sort of maybe tweaking the president,
his
if you
manner.
will.
I mean, he was a far more honest man than Trump, and he wasn't lying all the time. He told a few whoppers, but I think generally he's an honest man. He was honest conservative. I think he was a decent man. He was certainly very brave in Vietnam, and I think a lot of people liked him. I know people in the Washington press corps, including my niece, who works for the, I guess you call it the Communist Huffington Post, who knew McCain very well, and everybody found him wonderfully charming. He'd do that stuff, behind people. So very charming, and I think he's getting this sort of upwelling of emotional support because he's sort of the opposite of Trump, who's cold, never smiles, and lies nonstop. So he looked pretty good. He was fun to be with, too. Everybody loved him.
I got caught goofing around in D.C. by him one time.
I bet you did.
That's a story for another time.
You know what I mean. You know what I mean. He was just a lot of fun. He's just
fun
a
guy.
neat guy, and very likable. And I think people, to his dying day, really admired his courage in Vietnam, not coming back early, not being released because his father was an admiral, and so and I think it's a real loss. It's certainly a loss to the Republican Party. The Republican Party, when Trump leaves, however he leaves, in a box or in chains or after 2 years, after 2 terms. They're going to have to somehow reconstitute themselves a thoughtful center-right party, which every country needs a good center-right party. They don't have it now. they've got this sort of corrupt plutocracy. But
Well, I'll tell
we
you.
need to get that back. Call it Eisenhower Republicans, something like
I
that.
mean, as the pendulum has swung
Right.
to both sides,
That's right.
very, very
That's
far.
right. And I think the Democrats, in some places, are getting a little bonkers too. I mean, the deals are made in the middle. John Chafee, and then moderate Democrats. That's how you get stuff done. I'm afraid that what we're going to need to really get something profound done about income inequality and all that stuff is a crash. We probably wouldn't have Social Security without the Depression, for example, let alone half the walls of Providence were built by the WPA.
Absolutely,
as
as you see them on the plaques.
That's
Well,
right.
as we know, a day in politics can be an eternity. A week certainly is, because let's just say this time last week it was all Michael Cohen and
That's
Paul
right. Remember we were
Manafort.
talking about that?
That's all
The
that was
memory
being-
is so short. He's up, he's down. It's just ridiculous. I know GoLocal. I look at it too. We all love listings. It's like U.S. News. Who's hot,
who's up, who's not. Well, it's like
We
it's
all
like
love
Paul
that
who
stuff,
and Michael who, because it's sort of a quasi fait accompli since last week. But I was talking with Jennifer Lawless down at the University of Virginia.
Very interesting person. Yeah.
And she, as most
Right.
have surmised, here we are. It's Labor Day. We've got the election. We've got some more primaries in the general in November. Predicts it's going to be incredibly quiet on the Mueller front, because he's kind of a little hamstrung, if you will.
Well, I've heard different stories of Jennifer, who is very bright, very, very astute. I think, on the other hand, he may just try to get it over with in September. By the way, I've got to say something. The Whitewater Monica Lewinsky investigation of the Clintons, that was, let me see, 8 years? Yeah, more than 8 years. And that cost $70 million. This thing, far more complicated, because it involves national security, international cast of characters, immensely more complicated. It's cost about $7 million, and so far 15 months. So when people complain this thing is dragging on, that's just ridiculous. In the Clinton Whitewater thing, a lot of that was just a joke. And this is when the Republicans, during almost the entire period, controlled the House of Representatives. And then you go Watergate, which took over 2 years, which I have vivid memories because I have to write
You
stuff.
report, yeah.
I did, yeah. No, I typed it. Calling
But
a
you
report.
think that there's a possibility that, as you said, Mueller might try to muscle some more through, even despite the cries of saying it's too close to election
Yeah,
time?
I think so. Maybe September. He's very circumspect, very careful. I doubt if he would do it in October. The famous October surprise that we all... Probably
we
not,
all wait
but
for.
I could see him doing it in September. Yeah.
So you've got the cheat sheet here. What can we expect from
Well,
you
I
this
think
weekend?
I looked at the Mexican car deal, and there's less to it than meets the eye. It'll have very little effect. It may.
Is that what the new NAFTA is officially called?
Yeah, it's NAFTA. It's just tweaks of NAFTA.
NAFTA light.
He's changing the name because of Trump's, his base hates NAFTA, so he's going to call it a different name and they'll love it. It's kind of like the thing when they used to interview
Folgers
people on the
crystals?
street. What do you think of Obamacare? It's terrible. It's just terrible. Remember that? What do you think of the Affordable Care Act? That's great. I mean, so you can depend upon the illiteracy of the public. But no, it's just, if you look at content requirements and wage, minimum wage requirements, it's really going to have very little effect. Now, I don't know what the Canadians are going to do. I think they'll probably be pressured into joining it. They probably won't have much choice. But if you're talking about impact, I would say the only fairly sure bet is it will raise prices a little bit on cars, right? And it will probably ultimately reduce employment by encouraging automation. Nobody ever talks about automation. Automation is much, much more important
we've
than
had
outsourcing. You know that.
We've talked with Darrell West, formerly of Brown Brookings, and he's written extensively on this. I mean,
the politics of trade.
The politics of trade and the politics of employment. I mean, the rapid modernization. I just saw on this week. I don't go to fast food often by lieu of my diet. But no, I can't. I have celiac. I can't eat it. I like it. I can't eat it.
When I just went to 24/7 intravenous feeding, I just avoided all
No,
these
they're
problems.
doing all the kiosks now. It's come
right?
to,
Okay,
so
so like
you order
that.
your food and
right,
it just comes out. We've seen them trying the driverless cars. I mean, it's going to go up very, very quickly. And how equipped we are to handle it will be seen.
Yeah, we don't know. I think we're kind of the calm before the storm of artificial intelligence too, which is going to be doing all this stuff. I sense a lot of anxiety in the financial services trade.
Yes.
Because a lot of that stuff in
Can
the
be.
future is going to be done algorithms, right?
So you got more on that cheat sheet. Tell me what else is going on
What
this
else
weekend.
is going on? Oh yeah, I'm gonna see what else is going on. Yeah, there's an interesting where did I put it here? It's here someplace. The interesting piece in City Lab, one of the places I look for ideas, about what are you going to do with these these bike lanes. In some cities don't have it nearly enough of them. But now there's been a proliferation of scooters, the bird scooters that I love so much.
I know you ride it back and forth downtown
Oh,
every day.
absolutely. Motorized wheelchairs. I think they're going to have to rearrange a lot of streets to make them wider or cut into the car traffic lanes, because you're going to have a huge increase in bicycles, scooters, given the aging of the population, motorized wheelchairs. Obviously, you'll have the people the runners, and the regular bike riders. And we don't have enough space to take in all these people
Well, I'll tell
in the
you,
future, especially the scooters.
I saw a rogue bird scooter on the streets this week,
Oh,
and
no.
I've actually got some
Criminals.
video, because they yanked them because the city
I know.
put forth regulations they were going to work to
They're
put them back.
they're gonna fiddle around with the regulations, right?
Well, ostensibly to fit the regulations. I saw a young man riding and it said bird on it,
Yeah.
but he was kicking because clearly it wasn't an operation.
Oh, really? That's cheating. Yeah.
I'm like, how'd you get this?
How are you? See, I think this is just going to take off more with the young people, the old
scooters,
people.
yeah.
I think these scooters are going to be just thousands of them in a middle-sized city like Providence. Question is, how do you arrange
and
lanes
that's the
for
article
that,
that-
and the regular bike riders and all that? You're going to have to reconfigure a lot of highways, I think.
Would you take a driverless car right now?
No, I don't trust them. I mean, I don't trust the humanoids that are driving the cars around me either. I mean, I don't trust anybody. I usually don't trust myself, especially after taking cold medicine or something. But I would definitely not get into a car with that lack of control. Would I be safer in a driverless car? Probably, but psychologically, it's impossible. Giving up that amount of control. And of course, we know every once in a while they don't work.
Yes.
And when they don't work, it's catastrophic.
We'll
Right?
see when they,
It's
they're
just
coming,
absolutely-
but as of
they're-
now.
They're coming. They got to do something about
Okay,
these lanes.
what on the literary and environmental front?
Yeah, and then there's a thing, and I love these sort of waterfront things. There's a story about Rotterdam using the plastic bags and all the garbage that people stupidly throw into the sewers on the shore. They're recycling this, and they're creating kind of like beds, like mussel beds with these things.
Okay.
This is with recycled plastics, and then plants are growing out of them and all that, which is of course cleaning the water. It's a little like the thing I wrote about a couple of weeks ago, with this sort of high fiber stuff along the rivers, urban rivers, and it cleans the rivers. You plant this stuff, it pulls out, it gets nutrients from the water, it removes a lot of excess nutrients, phosphates and nitrogen and that kind of stuff, and it provides environment for life, water life, and life above.
Might have to
Gives
take
off
a tip
oxygen.
from Rotterdam.
And can I get another one in? Yeah, okay. Springfield is just opening up a huge, I'm surprised you weren't there to play the machines, huge MGM casino.
I've seen the ads on Facebook. I've been inundated and clearly in their target demographic.
Here's my prediction. I feel pretty, and if I'm alive then, you can taunt me if I'm wrong, which I'm sure you will. I think you're going to find Springfield poorer in 10 years than it is now. Yeah, welcome to Atlantic City.
Oof.
Welcome to Atlantic City. I think this is a chimera. I don't think it's going to work in the not very long run. For one thing, internet gaming is going to take a lot of that business. It's not wealth creation. It sucks wealth out of a region and sends it some other place. That other place is the bank accounts of the investors.
So you won't be going to MGM?
Well, I may go.
Just to check it out, see the spectacle.
I may go, yeah. So I can smoke, and all these things. I wonder if they get a lot of smoking there. A lot of these casinos, they like smoking because it gets, kind of habit-forming people. People who tend to chain smoke and drink too much also tend to gamble a lot.
Don't quote me on it. I
brain.
believe Massachusetts are smoke-free, and
Right.
that's the selling.
Unlike here,
and
right?
that's the selling point of the casinos
really?
here.
Really? Yeah.
Is the
That
smoking
we can
capacity.
chain smoke. That's great. I'm really
But
happy
what
to
about
hear that.
the marijuana?
Yeah. What about the medical? I'm
Well,
feeling
no,
kind
no,
of
it's
nervous.
legal.
Well,
It's
no, I got to get a
Massachusetts.
prescription. See, when I lose a lot of money at the slot machine or at the roulette table, it makes me anxious. So my physician has recommended I, have a couple of joints. Why not?
So if you can't smoke, I don't think you can maybe edibles. Anyhow.
The great circle route. Absolutely.
Well, if you're going to want to read more from Bob, you'll have to tune in this weekend on Sunday to catch his column. Did we cover the list?
No, we
There's
did not.
more.
Absolutely. I want to thank Citizens Bank for keeping its headquarters in downtown Providence, contrary to some of the news reports. It's the corporate campus out in Johnston. Fact is that generally senior executives don't want to be in some bland office park in Exurbia.
Well, I think there was
They don't want to be there.
I think people have made a snap judgment when the building that Citizens
Right.
in is up for auction.
That's
It
right.
was never any
Yeah.
indication that they were going to go,
No,
but I think the thought was, well, if it's no, it's just a changeover of ownership.
It's a little like New York City, where you get these corporate headquarters. There was a relatively small number of people there, usually the senior executives and their immediate support staff, and they want to live on Park Avenue or Fifth Avenue. Here, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the senior executives at Citizens lived up in the East Side.
And I
For
just,
example, at College Hill.
just want to go down the
And that's
hill.
kind of the equivalent for them of Fifth Avenue and Park Avenue. So I'm glad they're going to stay downtown with the amenities. I hope they spend lots of money, especially in Providence's many fine restaurants. And I was a little spooked that they'd all go out there, but when you're running the show, you don't have to go to boring places.
And on that note,
Yeah.
we will wrap up
Okay.
here, and you, of course, tune in on Sunday on Go Local Prov to read Bob Whitcomb's column. Bob, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kate.
Don't go
Bye-bye.
anywhere. We'll be back to wrap up here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for tuning in this Wednesday afternoon, a very hot one here in downtown Providence. Laura Afonso at 3 o'clock talked barbecue and big sandwiches. 4 o'clock news and politics caught up with RI GOP gubernatorial candidate Patricia Morgan. Today announced she has always been a strong supporter of an Office of Inspector General. She said if elected, she would establish the department and appoint former Rhode Island Attorney General Arlene Violet to the position. We also caught up with a new business owner. Adania Abreu with Adora's Dream is having a big party to kick off her new business, which is a makeup beauty bar, which can travel around to different events, provide her expertise and services, again, launching officially tomorrow here in Providence. And of course, want to thank Bob Whitcomb, Go Local columnist, as he does most weeks, comes in to talk about current events, talking about the passing of Senator John McCain and more local politics here in Rhode Island. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow at the 3 o'clock hour here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center when Rachel Nunes and Chelsea Gay return here in studio. In the meantime, of course, be sure to tune into GoLocalProv.com online and our Facebook page throughout the evening and tomorrow. We'll see you back